you ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 33rd episode of Trollin HGC, a Heroes of the Storm podcast focused on esports and a member of the Trolls GG Entertainment Network. I'm your host, LiQuid, and I'm joined tonight as usual by Bahgz. How's it going, man?
Been better, not gonna lie. I have experienced days without Tempest taped to my forehead. I understand that the fine print of the bet said that it was supposed to be markered to my forehead. But I found a loophole, and it's still technically markered to my forehead. It's just on a piece of paper instead. Okay?
On a piece of paper instead. All right.
So I think that I would still consider myself a man of my word. I fully supported Ballistics in their endeavor to beat Tempest this weekend and take over first place. But I was wrong.
You were.
You were right.
You were wrong.
So,
and that's the important thing. As long as you're willing to admit that you were wrong, that's the important.
Yes. Well,
so
that was the goal.
There we have
it.
There we do. And joining us tonight, Redian, captain of the Open Division team I manage, ODI, not on camera, so we're gonna give him a load of grief about that over the night. But how's it going, man?
Yep. I'm doing all right. Despite the lack of camera.
The lack of camera. That's all right. It happens, right? Like, I know it was a last minute thing, and we grabbed you and said, "Hey, man, you're on the show." So that's what happens. But that's cool.
Now I'm just a voice.
Now you're like the hidden voice, the voice behind the curtain. Don't look behind the curtain. All right. So before we get into results, because there's not a whole lot of news this week, I do want to thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com/trollsgg. It is shared with the entire Trolls GG network. And that is one way you can support us and help other more interesting content possibly get produced. Bahgz is actually working on revamping our Patreon, so go check that out when you get time. And in usual troll tradition, I don't know. I'll have to come up with a way to put those two words together.
I see what you did there.
Right? I do want to thank our troll of the week, San. San is actually a writer for us and has joined Discord and actually started chatting quite a lot with all sorts of stuff that's going on. So thank you, San, for being our troll of the week. All right, man. Got some results. But before we get into some results, I hate to not use that bumper you made us, so let's use it.
It's a 1-for-1 trade. It's the 1-for-1 trade as we once again have the Dragon Blade used on the side of Genji's Triton Engine. Dashes on sail yellow.
That was just about the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's a dance party and you're invited.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HGC Western Clash.
And we're back. All right, so I have the current standings up on the screen. We're going to only go over Korea, EU, and NA this week because China finished 2 weeks ago, and they are waiting until February 26th when their stepladder playoff starts for the Eastern Clash. So there's nothing to really discuss there because, well, quite honestly, we talked about it last week. So, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about Korea, which is the exact reason the Bahgz is wearing the Tempest sign on his head. Last week, Tempest took out Ballistic 3-1 in something that very few people predicted. But I did, and Bahgz is wearing a sign because of it. I'm going to take that because I did. So I put in our show notes, and I'm going to read this verbatim. Everybody needs to write this down. Tempest is the king of Korea currently, and I don't see that changing before the Eastern Clash. So Bahgz may disagree with me. In fact, I suspect he does.
Yes. So Tempest sits at a 15-2 map score. They're 5-0 in the matches they've played so far this season. They beat KSV. They swept them, actually. It was a 3-0, and they beat Ballistics, obviously, because here I am with Tempest plastered on my forehead. The question is up for discussion, are they better than KSV? And if so, Are they the best team in the world?
I don't know if I'm ready to go best team in the world yet. I think they will win the Eastern Clash if they go to the Eastern Clash. I think at this point they are. There's no way they don't go to the Eastern Clash being 5-0. There's only 2 weeks left. I think they have 2 games this weekend and 1 next weekend. I think they're solidly in the top 4, right? It's top 4 teams for Clash, if I remember correctly.
Taiwan does get to send a team to the Eastern Clash. I believe I believe though that they take that they vulture that position from China. I think China's only going to send 3. I think Korea will send 4, and then the 8th team will be Taiwanese team.
That makes sense, right? Because of the relationship of China and Taiwan.
Yeah, it's like sending 4 Chinese teams, kind of.
I mean, it depends. I mean,
their government. Like, they might not agree with you, but.
Right? But okay, so I think Tempest goes. I think Tempest wins the. Sorry, Tempest definitely wins Eastern Clash.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I am not ready to make bets yet. We still have a couple of weeks
I don't think Radian's ready to make bets on that yet.
But
I mean, I'm
going to humbly disagree because I don't see how KSV Black loses it. I think that Tempest caught him off guard. I think that maybe they just had a down day, but I am not ready to declare Tempest the best team in Korea yet. I think that they have certainly improved. The new roster is showing great chemistry. They are playing incredibly well. Maybe they're better than Ballistics, or maybe it was just a bad game for Ballistics. I mean, maybe I'm making a bunch of excuses.
You're wearing a sign on your head. All right, wait, hold on. Before we get into that, Radian, what are your thoughts here? Because you had that thing in your throat for a minute.
Well, I think as far as the Eastern Clash goes, like, I think it's undeniable that Tempest is a top team in Korea right now. But I'm erring on the side of caution to call them the best team in the world, or even the best team that will be attending that event. Because I think there were some, not to make excuses for KSV, not to make excuses for any of their opponents, but I do think it was almost like what happened in the beginning of HGC and NA, where their teams that were expected to do well didn't, and then they kind of picked up speed in the following weeks. So KSV overall seems to be struggling, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. It just means that the competition is getting more fierce there.
Okay.
But I think for sure, Tempest. I think the biggest advantage too is that Tempest sort of had the ability to sort of sit back and just analyze KSV, just take them apart in and out. And so when they were clearly ready for week 1, Tempest was super prepared to go up against KSV, and they faltered a little bit against Ballistics, and these weren't like stomps either.
Right.
I think the vast majority of their wins were actually pretty close, particularly against Ballistics, and I think at least 2 of the games versus KSV. So they're at the top right now, but they could easily get pulled back down, I think.
All right. I mean, I think we can all agree that the Eastern Clash is going to be Korea's to lose. I don't think anybody can question that.
I mean, don't sleep.
Well, right. I
mean, on the other guys.
I think some people will remember. I am a huge believer in the Chinese team. I was calling for Beyond the Game to do better at BlizzCon than they did. I said don't count out CE or SPT. Obviously, they had visa issues there. I like to believe that we won't see the same visa issues going into Eastern Clash.
Here's hoping.
Right, but the reality is that
if I feel like if I remember correctly, the Eastern Clash, the one was in Taiwan. There were no visa issues, and the other one was in South Korea, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Maybe it was.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. And I don't think they had visa issues for that one either. So it should be a safe bet, but we'll see.
But you never know, right?
Until the day of.
Right.
It's like, whoops, we
had visa issues. Oh shit, sorry guys. Oops. Right. So, I mean, that's the problem. The reality is we just don't know right now. We won't know until later. I would love to see China do better. I just don't think they're going to. That's why I think it's going to be Korea's to lose at this. At least in the Eastern Clash. So, I also I understand what both of you are saying about Tempest and KSV, but if you look at the remaining schedule, right, this weekend we have Ballistics versus KSV Black. That's always a great game. Don't miss that. But then, what do you do? Like, it's not like Tempest has any hard games left. I mean, they're playing like.
Well, Blossom can play them close, but no, you're not wrong. Tempest will probably finish the season undefeated. I'm just saying that come Clash time, I don't see them winning it. I think it's going to be KSV all the way.
So, but here's the problem, right? Like, Blossom can play them close, sure, but you're going into Clash 6-0, 7-0, 7-0 at that point. Like, there's something to be said for momentum.
Yeah, they're about to lose it. That's what. Right? Like that, like that means they're due to lose. I'm just throwing it out there. All right.
Let's move on from Korea.
well, let's. We got to answer the follow-up question. So, it's debatable whether they're better than KSV. So it's safe to say that they are not the best team in the world. LiQuid, you think they are the best team in Korea right now? Are they? Does that make them the best team in the world, or no? It's still okay. So then, which means we're ready to segue into the next region then.
Yes.
Because I'm assuming you think the best team in the world is.
And it's a damn shame that Nabi couldn't make it tonight, because the best team in the world, I think, right now is, and it pains me to say this because I'm a Fnatic fan at heart, but Dignitas. I think, depending on the matchup that we see at Mid-Season Brawl, it could go either way. We could see Korea win, or we could see EU win. It's just gonna, who had a good breakfast that morning and whose matchup is more friendly to him, right? Because if you take Dig and you put him against, let's say, Ballistic or G-Luck, because Korea's gonna win, which means they're sending 4 to Mid-Season Brawl, not China. Or no, I'm sorry, 3 to Mid-Season Brawl. Wait. Why do I have it confused in my head? Anyway, if you match Dig up against the weakest Korean team, they walk through that game, right? And so at the end of the day, because of the way the brackets come together, you end up with this weird, I'm going to borrow an open division metaphor for this, because I talked about this to my wife last night. Because of the way they seed after the first round, right? You typically have the same 4 people in the semifinals, just because of the way the seeding works out. The bracket tends to be easier for those those top 4 teams, because they never face each other, right? Number 1 never faces number 2 until the end. Number 3 never faces number 1 or number 2 until the end, right? So you have that same kind of thing. Going into Mid-Season Brawl, we could have something very, very similar, where Dignitas never plays Tempest or KSV Black until the very end, which means now it's a coin toss. It's one set. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? You're both equally good teams. Who had the best breakfast? Who had the best sleep? Who's, riding the best high? Like, all those little things that aren't necessarily game impacting, like game knowledge or macro play or any of that. Like, those aren't as important at that level. It's, did you get enough rest last night? Are you ready to play this game? All of that. And so I feel like, based on how the matchups are set up and how the brackets appear, Dig ends up winning Mid-Season Brawl. I want it to be Fnatic because I love Fnatic, but Dig is hot right now. Tempest will give them a run for their money. KSV Black and Ballistics, not so much.
I want to pump your brakes because it is we are 3 weeks into the HGC season and we're already talking about the Mid-Season Brawl. We can take stabs and guesses at which team is the best team in the world, but I don't want to try and say who's going to win. I'm kind of like just saying who's the best team right now.
Yeah, I know.
Not who's going to be winning the Mid-Season Brawl, because there's a lot of games to be played. There is the clashes still. There are 5 more weeks of regular season play plus a small break. There is a lot that can happen.
But as of today,
there is an international meta that needs to form. But I understand. As of today, I agree with you. I think Dig is probably the best team in the world, and then KSV, and then maybe Tempest.
Okay.
So that's Yeah, that's my take. I also want to take real quick, and I hate to do this, but I do want to give a shout out to Gluck on their big win this past weekend. They beat Miracle.
Yes.
They won 3-2.
Yep.
And I just wanted to give the team a shout out. Like they beat Miracle as well. I think they also beat Ace.
Yes.
The other team that won their way through the Crucible. So as far as Korean amateur teams hopping up into the Pro League and possibly going to the Clash, nice. It's nice to see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lot better than how RRR fared after they made their way up from the amateur scene. So.
Right. No, that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
All right. So EU.
Oh boy.
Dig plays Fnatic this weekend, if I remember correctly. I think I also called that.
You
out.
do.
Cool.
You do.
So Dig hasn't played Fnatic. They haven't played LiQuiD, but they've 3-0'd everybody else so far. They're clearly the top in EU, like no questions asked. They're 12-0. They're the only team with a perfect map record at this point. Fnatic, in the world. Fnatic hasn't faced LiQuiD yet, but 3-0'd Method, but then also lost to Zealots, which is like still breaking my mind. Still diehard Fnatic fan though.
So they've looked shaky, yes.
And Method is.
Go ahead.
Method's been like hit or miss. Sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And that's how they were last season.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look great, sometimes they didn't. Like nothing's changed.
They're consistent in their inconsistency.
Right. Like it's just that is who they are. Go ahead, man.
And then I was just gonna say LiQuiD lost to Method this past weekend. They were swept. They lost 3-0. But they did beat Tricked fairly handily. Ganjagoon and I covered that on the stream. And they've also beaten Zealots, which are their closest competition for the Clash.
Yep.
So surprisingly, the point I wanted to make tonight on the show is, yes, EU is probably still the most competitive region of all the HGC regions, but we're starting to see some separation and teams are slotting into a pecking order, right? Like, so it's pretty much very clearly that Dig's the best team in Europe, right? It's probably safe to say, based on the fact that they stomped out Method, that Fnatic is the second best team in EU, but they have their blemishes because, again, they did lose a set to the Zealots. Method was unable to get wins against Fnatic or Dig, but they have performed fairly well against everyone else, including a sweep of Team LiQuiD this past weekend. LiQuiD has, again, they haven't played Fnatic or Dig, I believe, if I remember correctly yet.
Right.
But they lost to Method, and they've beaten up on pretty much everyone else they've played, except for, what was it, Diamond Skin they lost 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So it's pretty straightforward as far as that goes. Again, it's a competitive region. We are going to see the occasional upset because of that, but it's not quite as congested as it was last year, I'm noticing. So my question to you guys is it a big 4 with LiQuiD and all the way up to Dig? Or is it a big 3 like it was last year for the majority of the year? Is it just a big 2 with Fnatic and Dig and everyone else is trying to play keep up? Or is it just like everyone's on their own? Like everyone's just like, there's the one team is better than everyone else, and then the 2 team is better than everyone else below them. And it's that straightforward.
I would liken this to what you said last week about Korea. You have the top 2 teams. In Korea's case, it was the top 3, but here it's the top 2 teams. You have you have the middle 3. I would say Method, LiQuiD, and Tricked are like the middle 3. And then you have the bottom 3. You have Zealots, Diamond Skin, and Leftovers. All fighting to stay out of Crucible spot. That's my opinion of how it breaks down in EU.
So my thinking is it's actually, we went from last year where it was Fnatic and pretty much everybody else, right? Like maybe it was Fnatic, then Dig, and then 3 through 7 was just like, it was a mess.
Right.
But it's this time around, it's very tiered. It's like, it's Dig, then it's Fnatic, and there are very clear lines of separation between these teams, and just based on the record and the matches that they play. And then it's Method, and like literally you could just go right down the standings. And then it's LiQuiud, Tricked and Zealots. I'm leaning towards Tricked. And then it's Zealots, and then I'm leaning towards Zealots over Diamond Skin. I really want to see Diamond Skin play Leftovers, but that's a team also that's, I don't know. Like, again, they beat LiQuiud, so I think it's very tiered. Like the way the standings have shaken out over in EU are very indicative of the strengths of these rosters. So I don't know. It's very, instead of what we had last year, I think it's actually really, really fine-tuned in the opposite respect, which is interesting. At least it's interesting.
Radian, what do you think?
I'm inclined to agree with what you guys are saying in terms of there seeming to be like sort of like these soft tiers in EU, but I don't think the gap from the top, let's say that right now it's Dig. Despite their record, I still don't think that they're so outrageously far ahead of the rest of the pack, particularly as it concerns the next tier down, which would be comprised of Fnatic and Method.
I think that's fair, and I think so. I'm really excited. Like we'll get into it more later, but my prediction for this weekend is I think Fnatic's gonna cause Dig to drop their first map. They might not win the match, but they will either play into the full 5 or at least 4.
Oh, it's going 5, dude.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. So, again, like you said, it's pretty early to be making predictions about the clash and whatnot, but I think if the trend continues, but if the teams that are behind Dignitas, however far behind that they are, improve and just keep improving, then like it's not going to be as easy as it might seem for Dignitas in the future. Kind of like the same situation with Tempest. Like right now, it looks like they're at the very top, but the other guys aren't too far behind at all.
Yeah,
as long as they improve, then I think particularly with the Fnatic, I'm really, really looking forward to that match. That's going to be. I'm really hoping it doesn't disappoint. I will cry if there's a stomp on either side. Like I want good, gritty heroes.
What about some backdoor calls? You think? How many backdoor calls do you think we'll get those asking in chat?
Oh man, I mean, I think if I see Fnatic draft a Tyrael, okay, then I'm gonna be all right. That's it. They're using Sanctification on core. First chance they get, they're doing it. Taking Tyrael Greymane and they're gonna go for that core every time.
I hope not. Gosh, but we'll see.
All right. So, with that said today, sorry. That's awesome, Rush. That's good. Congratulations. I saw you guys play yesterday, so that's awesome. All right. NA. NA was crazy this weekend.
My heart. My poor heart.
So, yeah. First of all, I've been saying since they made it that Heroes Hearth was going to be underestimated. Since they got into HGC out of Open Division, I've been saying they would be underestimated. And then here they are this weekend. I'm really kicking myself because I think I picked Team 12 3-2. But I'm kicking myself because I should have just went with it and said no, Heroes Hearth's going to do it. But nobody saw 3-1 coming out, and they looked stellar when they were playing Team 12.
Yeah, that was a treat to watch. In all honesty, they executed so well. I noticed McIntyre finally stopped playing or having to insta-lock Leoric too, so that was nice.
Yeah. I agree. They played so well. Okay. In Space Station Gaming, continuing to struggle, sitting in last place right now.
Oh, it hurts me.
Go, man. Say it.
It hurts me. Right? It hurts me that Space Station is in that spot right now. I know, like, it seems like they're struggling to really solidify the best or the most optimal positions for each of the members on the roster.
Right.
It seems like they've been trying to figure out what works, and I'm really, really hoping that going into the next week that they can, they make an adjustment and things click, because those aren't unskilled players by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
At least from what I've observed, both on their past, like those individuals where they were playing on their past teams and where they're at now. Like, they're not bad players, but it's just something, I don't know, like the spark isn't there. Something's not gelling. And
okay, I agree, but I disagree a little bit. Hold on, because I want to make sure I get this right when I say it. So
do you think there's like a leadership quality that's lacking or something? Because it's very weird that they haven't figured out how to get that lineup with the time that they've had. And maybe I'm underestimating what it takes, and this is very possible. But it's very weird that they haven't been able to settle on roles in the lineup. Like, so in the GFE match, they went back to Casanova tanking for those 3 matches. They got swept 3-0, and immediately reverted back to Equinox tanking in the Tempo series, and they lost that 3-1. Now, Equinox has been vocal about it in the past that he wasn't comfortable in the tanking role, and now he's tanking again, and we know through the evidence of all of Phase 2 that Casanova did well in the tanking role. And I'm not saying that these players can't play the roles that they're currently in with Equinox tanking and Casanova playing the carries, but they had a history of success not doing what they're doing right now, and they have shown that what they're doing right now isn't working. So I just don't know why they can't figure out what they need to do to work.
They're making the I think it was GFE. I think it was at the end of Phase 1, but it may have been at the end of Phase 2. They're making the GFE mistake where 4 flexes in a support.
Yes, and that's actually how they're listed on Master League right now, which is there was when I was looking at the roster and like kind of going through their drafts and stuff while fleshing out the show notes. I was like, this is like very, very similar to when Equinox was on GFE in Phase 1 of last year.
Yep.
And I'm just like, and that hurt that team. It was a team with a lot of potential that just didn't quite reach it because of that.
Right.
And
Look at their struggle. Their struggle is making quick calls, and quick and decisive calls, which usually falls on the shot caller. And most times that shot caller is the tank. They're struggling in the tanking position.
Do you think they moved Equinox to the tanking role because he is the shot caller for that team?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he is. But they did fine. I don't know, man.
Well, yeah. I don't know. That team
confusion.
Is a mess.
Yeah, it's confusion.
Well, that's the problem, right? That's the problem.
They don't have an identity, and they need to find it quick. That's basically what we can pretty much. If we need to identify the problem, it is that the team has an identity crisis, and they need to solve that very quickly. Otherwise, they will be playing for their HGC lives. Now, my question for you guys is two-pronged. Are they the worst team in North America right now?
Right. I think they are. Well, okay. Individual talent-wise, no. As a team, yes.
Right.
I think we can all agree on that.
As a team. Yeah.
All right. So we all agree that right now they are the worst team in North America. Now the question is, can they turn it around, and will they avoid the Crucible? I don't think they do. What do you guys think? I think it's too late.
I think they can turn it around, but like in terms of how they play, but that might not be enough for them to avoid the Crucible. But if they do turn it around, and like I think they play to the potential that they have, then they may not get relegated.
Maybe. It's gonna be weird. And it really, my biggest problem is it sucks for Jay Street.
Oh my gosh.
Like, no matter anything else, that dude like constantly busts his ass, and it's like, sorry man, better luck next time. And it's like, really, like that can't be our answer here.
Yeah.
Well, let's not sell it short for the other 4 players in the team. It sucks for all of them.
It does. It does.
It does. But it really sucks for him because he moved from another country on a whim to get here, and he could be jobless,
Right.
like in a foreign country, like like.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that'll happen. Even if they lose, he'll get picked up.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think because if you look at the games too, Jay Shude is really he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
in any given situation,
Yeah.
he's doing a lot, and oftentimes, like when a fight is close, that should have been more one-sided. It's because he made a play like like you said, he works super hard. And what you guys were saying before about his Twitter account, man, like that guy is something else,
right?
That's the main. He's the main reason why I want to see Space Station do well.
He is the reason why. Like on that, he's the reason why I care. Nothing against the other 4 people on the team.
Yeah.
I don't.
Nothing against them.
I have nothing. I have no connection to any of them except for Equinox drives me nuts as a tank, and I don't want to see him on it. Right? Like that's my connection.
We'll see. No. I mean, Rush Hots makes a good point. He feels like Equinox is the sole voice in comms right now. They don't have Tiger JK or Talking Trees anymore to help carry comms, and that might be an issue. So
Right.
it is hard to say.
Comms are critical, right? One of the biggest differences that Romedy pointed out after his time with Heroes Hearth is comms. Comms is like comms from an amateur team and comms on a professional team are 2 completely different worlds. And if you don't have the comms you need on your professional team, you're not going to do well.
For sure. I would agree.
Yeah, because it slows everything down. And I think Romedy quoted Ishbu when Ishbu was saying right now, this was like after week 1. So after week 1, I think Ishbu had said the biggest difference that they've had to adjust to is the speed of the game. And I think what contributes to that speed and or efficiency is how well your comms go.
Yeah.
So if that machine isn't well oiled, then everything else is going to seem pretty slow or suffer as a result.
Right.
So
right.
I want to circle back to Team 12 because I feel like we kind of brushed over it.
All right.
My question to you guys is: are they the best team in North America?
No.
I
hate to say that.
So,
but no.
I mean, 2 losses, 1 to Heroes Hearth, which no shots fired, but they aren't Tempest, and they beat Tempest.
Here's the funny thing: I think this weekend we will find out who the best team in NA is.
All right.
It's not who I thought it would be. It's definitely not who I thought it would be. It is not who I picked to be in the top.
I would have thought Team 12 would have been miles ahead of North America. So the current results are mind-boggling, to say the least.
I think this is your year, buddy, to wear your jersey loud and proud. I know you love that Team Freedom jersey. I am constantly surprised by how well they're doing. I hate
you know what
to
the key
say
factor
this,
is?
What?
It's collusion.
I hate to say this, but I
collusion.
picked Freedom to beat Team 12, which like hurts me inside. So much. Oh my god, it hurts me so bad.
I'm excited for when Freedom plays 12 and wins. 3-2 is going to be my early guess, but we'll see. All right, so now if they're not the best team in North America, why is that? Do you guys have any theories as to why that might be?
Competition is fierce, I think.
It's crazy, right?
I
never thought I'd say that about NA.
Personally, I can't wrap my brain around it. Like, I am just not smart enough to diagnose what it is. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, oh wow, I don't know.
I will say this. There are a number of teams that can do well. I think Tempo is not falling apart the way people thought Tempo was going to fall apart.
That's a good thing.
The concern, right? The concern was too many Chiefs, not enough Indians in Tempo, right?
For sure. Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be an issue. Which is awesome don't get me wrong. Like, we all wanted Tempo to do well, but we worried about the too many Chiefs, not enough Indians for Tempo.
For sure.
They're not having that problem. For whatever reason, whether it's Kala, like, reining in all the people, whether it's they all said, screw it, let the haters hate, we're going to do this. For whatever reason, Tempo's doing well and holding it together, which is awesome. Freedom surprised the hell out of me and is doing solid. I think those are the top 2 teams in NA, 100%. I think Team 12 and Heroes Hearth are potentially the next 2. They can go back and forth, right? I think if Team 12 can, like, figure out whatever funk they have going on, they can get back to their former glory. But something's not right in that team. Whether it's changes they made, whether it's they're trying to get a coach, whether they got a coach but they haven't told anybody and they're hiding the coach, but the coach is jacking with their synergies or whatever it is, something's off. I'd love to sit down and talk to Yip Boss about it, not even on stream, just like one-on-one to understand what the problem is, because something's off.
It's alarming, but
yes.
All right. So, all right, I'm ready to move on then. I wanted to touch on it. I didn't want to leave it, let it lay there. It's like they lost to Heroes Hearth, but there was more to chew on there. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. You want to go over some meta shifts, right? So I'm
meta notes, some fun factoids from MasterLeague.net.
Yes. I'm gonna hold on. Cool. I got your Twitch clips playing while we go over this.
Sweet. All right, cool. Basically, what I thought was interesting in North America, it's only been played 16 times, but double support, single tank, double support, and double damage has a 64% win rate. Easily the highest comp percent win rate for all the comps available. While the more standard compositions like double tank, double damage, single support, or single tank, triple damage, and single support, all sitting at 46 and 45% win rates respectively. So I thought that was interesting, and curious if you guys had any theories as to why it isn't played more when it's successful to a degree. Any theories?
I think it's because it, last season or before that big patch where they toned down all the supports.
Yeah.
It was always good. Like, why not? And then, the changes happened, then people shied away from it. Wasn't sure if it was still working. And it does, just not as universally well as it did. So I think the teams that are comfortable drafting that and playing that style, they know exactly where it works or where it has a good chance of functioning properly. And they pick it in those select situations as opposed to just trying to, like, all right, guys, lock it in. Every game, go, 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 go.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they're cherry picking their opportunities, which would make sense and back up what I found. All right. The other thing I noted in Europe, and I'm sure if you've been watching the games, Europe loves Mouth. Mafturian, that is. He's literally tied with Uther in popularity as far as popularity percents go. But he usually makes it through more drafts than Uther does. Uther will catch the occasional ban. And he combos really well with Tracer, if you believe my buddy Ganjagoon, because he's able to literally fill her health bar with one Moonfire Swiftman regrowth combo. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. His newfound healing mechanic.
So Redian, I wanted to ask you, why is there so much love for Malf in EU, and really mostly just EU when comparing the other regions?
Yeah.
If you have a theory.
Well, I think it's because they figured out how to unlock the potential of his healing. Really, I think that's what it comes down to. Because when the changes happened, a lot of people were saying, man, like, Malf sucks. He's super weak and all this, but it was too early, but it's just typical, I guess, attitude for people who play MOBAs. Whenever something gets changed, they're like, oh, it's horrible now, unplayable, can't do it.
Yeah.
But no one really sat down and really labbed with it, like really tried to figure it out. And I think the Tracer combo that you pointed out in Europe that's brilliant. Like, it's something that didn't immediately occur to me, but obviously something that they thought about, and like, it's fantastic. No matter where Tracer is, you Moonfire someone, she gets that burst healing. That's huge.
Yeah, that's got that tiny health pool, and it's a massive percent of it. So,
and they're all running around trying to peel the target that Tracer's on, or trying to get Tracer, and then bam, more Moonfire value. Easy game, easy life.
There you go. Keep it simple. All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to help define that as a really high level player. That's something that I can't quite divulge in as much. All right.
Oh,
good.
Thank you.
In
high
Korea, there you go. In Korea, I noticed that hero pools aren't everything. Now, typically, we like to talk about teams with large hero pools, right? They are flexible. They're able to toss out multiple strats, maybe throw out something different, counter a lot of different things. Well, Tempest and Ballistics are individually sitting on the 2 smallest hero pools by team, but also are also sitting in first and second place in Korea.
No, first and third, buddy.
First and third. Thought that was interesting.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I just wanted to bring it up. It's just thought it was interesting. We're usually talking about giant hero pools as a positive for our team, and they have really trotted out pretty much the same thing over and over, and just continue to win with it.
Right.
All right. Lastly, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just a minor note there. I think even though they will consistently pick the same things, I think other teams are still aware that they know how to play other comps. So maybe it's that they're having trouble, like their competition, they're having trouble trying to ban them out. Or maybe they want them to continue picking those things because they're looking at the replays and they're coming up with specific strategies for those things. So, their players aren't getting target bans. But there was another Korean team, and I can't remember the matchup, where the casters were specifically talking about their lack of the support players' lack of a deep hero pool.
Yeah.
And what I forget what match it was, but I'm sure I can figure it out. But the support player was essentially picking Rhaegar, where Uther was like the strongest option, and the other team knew that support player so well that they didn't even bother banning Uther. They just let him up because they're like, we know you're gonna pick Rhaegar, and we're gonna destroy you. So they just let it happen. So it was pretty interesting in that regard. So
wow,
why isn't that happening to the top number 1 and number 3? Well, probably because they can still flex, try to ban them out, and they'll be like, surprise.
You thought that would work, but it didn't.
Yeah. So
That's true.
Yeah, that's my, sorry to derail you there.
No, it's fine. I would kind of shed a little more light on the topic and kind of dig deeper into it and theorycraft as to why that may be. So it's just, these are just things I kind of find, I think they're interesting. And if we can kind of detective our way to a theory, I'm cool with it. Well, the other thing I want to talk about is the worldwide meta.
Yep.
And this week in particular, I want to talk about Blaze. Blaze blasted off into the age. You see what I did there?
I do.
Since the Blaze balance patch, since he's been eligible to play, he sits at a 49% popularity rate. Popularity is his involvement in a draft that includes him being banned as well as picked. Now, I don't know about you guys. Maybe Redian, you can kind of fill me in some more. I'm not sure if he's a main tank or bruiser because we saw specifically JPL and Wubby play him for Dig in both roles. So, any thoughts or theories on that?
I'm gonna let the tank player that plays in Open Vision answer that.
The unfortunate reality there is that I don't get to play Blaze. It's unfortunate. I'd love to play Blaze, but I don't get to play him. But I have, I play him in my spare time quite a bit. And I talk to Fleshy Bits, who is our melee flex, who does play him most of the time if we're going to draft him competitively. So I think you can make a strong argument that Blaze can be played as both things. I think if you look at what he offers, he has an AoE stun. He has pretty consistent CC in the form of slows. He has armor, and he has self-sustain, right? Like, that is like the dream. for a tank. You know, I'm hard to kill. I heal myself, and I debilitate enemy heroes quite a bit. So he's got all the right tools. And then if you look at it as, you know, okay, we're gonna take him we're gonna try to put him in that double soak sort of situation, like filling that spot that LiQiuD would. Well, he can do that too, because Bahgz is an excellent flanker, like marvelous.
Yeah.
If you get an advantageous position on an enemy team with Bahgz, like it's mayhem. He goes in he doesn't even need the combustion. If he has the combustion, well, it's like somebody call the fire department. But if not, like you're still panicking because your support, the enemy support is like, oh man, he's about to stun me or the backline for 1.25 seconds, and then we're gonna be slowed after, and then we're gonna be on fire, and then by the time all that's done, then the rest of his team is caught up. So you know, he's a fantastic hero. And I don't want to say he's OP. I know that will probably be a word that gets thrown around about Bahgz, like, oh, he's busted, he's too good, he's too strong.
I mean, let's be honest, Maeve is the one that's really OP right now. So,
I mean, she's vengeance personified. Like,
right?
It's like the Night Elf Batman. I don't want to mess with that.
I haven't had a chance to touch Maiev yet, but I'm looking forward to giving her a spin after the show here.
Not to derail us. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Oh no, that's
OP was mentioned. I had to do it.
But yeah, I think he's just a super well-rounded hero
for sure,
and he excels at the AOE control. Like it's not reliable, but it's not super far off. It's not like trying to flank with, I don't know, Artanis. Like, I go in and maybe I swap. Yay. Bahgz is like, all right, I showed up. There's actual panic when Bahgz shows up on a flank, or even when he's just regularly tanking. Bahgz, and that's oh man, that's the beauty of it. He can actually just sit back. He doesn't need to approach. He can hold all of his cooldowns, wait for that Greymane, wait for that Genji, wait for whoever. Maiev now, I guess too. I'm sure she'll be involved in some form of diving. Then you got the bunker for Peel. You've got again the slows and the stuns. Like he's a great tank.
I would agree completely. Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers the meta notes that I wanted to talk about. I'm ready to look ahead at next week. I don't know about you.
Previews.
All right. Before we dive in too far into the previews, though, I need you guys to cover for me because I'm going to do some quick maths because I forgot to do my maths earlier.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right.
I will. I'm going to mute myself so you can't hear the keyboard clicking. But I will chime in as we go through. So just do me last. All right. And we'll go through.
All right. So first up, we have Korea on Fridays, and we have Feliz versus Blossom. I got you covered for some of this, man. Just shout out if you want to expound on it. Both Bahgz and I have this picked 1-3 Blossom winning, and Redian, you went 0-3. You don't think Feliz is even going to pick up a game on that?
I was talking to Bahgz but before we got the show going, and many of my predictions here are not realistic.
All right,
I am simply trying to represent possibility.
Okay,
so,
I'm good with that.
I mean,
sometimes that's how you got to pick them, man. I mean,
you know, it's they're strong, man. They're strong, and I feel like if they really just turn it up and have been doing their homework on their opponents, then I think some smart drafting can lead to them just sweeping them.
Well, what's interesting to me here, first, yes, it's absolutely possible. But what's interesting to me here is the next game we have is Tempest versus Ace, and that is the second game Friday in Korea. And both Bahgz and I said Tempest is going to 3-0 Ace, but you have Ace winning a game. I was like, wait. I mean,
I have to believe, right? I have to believe that a game will be taken, right? That they will show up and not just put up a fight, but
right.
you know, secure that W. At least just, you know, like
All right.
I my predictions are the embodiment of competitive spirit and hope. I want, you know, if you're the underdog, you know, bite them, make them bleed.
Get that
right?
game,
you
right?
know?
Yeah. Yes, I get that. Okay, I can understand that. All right. And then we go over to Europe. And in Europe, we have Diamond Skin versus Zealots as the first game Friday. That's at noon Eastern. Bahgz has Diamond Skin losing 1-3. I picked Diamond Skin losing 2-3. And you picked Diamond Skin beating Zealots 3-2.
I actually have a legitimate reason other than representing possibilities. And it's not super good, but
it's a reason. Okay.
I think there's obviously I don't have any insight. Like I'm not over at Europe, and I'm certainly not talking to these players. But I think it's a reasonable sort of assumption to think that Diamond Skin is painfully aware of their position and has been doing their homework quite a bit. And we know that like Zealots is a good team, right? But they're not infallible. Okay. By any stretch of the imagination. So I think and Diamond Skin has had some pretty good showings.
Right.
So I think they're going to take this opportunity because I don't know if they're going to get another chance to really pull out this kind of win. So I think they're going to be pulling out all the stops. They're doing their homework, and it'll be a minor, I guess, maybe a major, depending on how you look at it. Kind of an upset there.
Okay.
I definitely I think I really, really hope, and I think that it's going to go to a game 5 regardless.
Okay. All right. I can dig that. Speaking of dig, the next game at 2 p.m. Eastern is Team LiQuiud versus Dignitas. Now, both Bahgz and I have this being a 3-0 to Dignitas. But you think Team LiQuid's going to get a game off of it. I'm going to go with the assumption that that's also a potential game.
Yeah, that's a potential.
All right.
Potential game. And I think, you know, once upon a time, LiQuiud was up there.
Yes.
You know, they were easily within the top 3 once upon a time. So I'm hoping they're gonna channel that legacy and take it to them. Like, you know, it's the same thing. I want to see them just do it. Prove to them.
Right.
Show the world that Dignitas is not invincible. All right, take them out. At least one game.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they can break that, but it's definitely like that's the beauty of the game, right? It's always possible for on any given day someone's gonna beat someone else. That's why I love the game.
Yeah.
That's what gives us things like Heroes Hearth beating Team 12, right? Any given day, anything can happen.
I don't think people saw that.
I get that. All right. And then we go over to NA, where speaking of Heroes Hearth, we have Heroes Hearth versus Simplicity at 5 p.m. Eastern. We all agree that Heroes Hearth is going to win. Bahgz and I have it being a 3-1, and you're at a 3-2. Anybody that's watched this show knows that I hated Naventic and wanted them to lose and be out. I love King Caffeine, but I feel the same way about Simplicity, man. I don't know what it is. Actually, that's not true. I do know what it is. The idea that there's nothing new to be gained by teams bringing in new talent, and instead we have to do this constant recycling of pros that have already had their chance in the scene, and we want to keep those same pros in the scene and not let somebody break in and be on our team. I just don't like that. I just don't. I don't know.
No, yeah, I understand completely. I think despite that, it's like now that roster of old guys,
right?
You know, really wants to win,
right? Like
they actually, you know, and not just like, guys, let's just stay out of the crucible. Like, you know, they want to be in the top.
I will agree with that. They have that,
and they've got a lot of even despite the staleness of the folks on the roster,
right.
They do have that potential, and they have experience.
Yeah,
you know, they're vets. They've been around the block. So
I agree.
I think they're going to make it close. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they're going to make it close.
I agree with the words you're saying, but I just don't like them because of that, right? Like I will give them that. I will give them that they seem to have a desire to win way more than Niantic ever did.
Ooh, yes, thank goodness.
So I completely agree with that. I don't know, man. The whole old team for life just drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And then we go over to the last game on Friday, Space Station Gaming versus Team Freedom. Bahgz has Freedom 3-0ing. I went 3-1, and I actually went 3-1 because of possibilities, and I'm hoping Jay Street can carry that team to a single map victory, if nothing else, against Freedom. And you have, shockingly, picked Space Station Gaming to take out Freedom 3-2. Man, that's out of possibility and into crazy talk.
This is you. Sometimes you got to be a little bit crazy, man. So there's really no grounds for me to say this. I mean, by far, we talked about Space Station. We talked about Freedom. Just comparison, you know, Space Station doesn't individually they're good. As a team, they're just not there yet.
Right.
But I'm hanging on to that hope, man. That like, you know, Jay Shrite is just gonna lift. He's gonna lift so hard. He's gonna pull so hard
and bring him up.
Yeah, and then you know it's like because I'm thinking here's my thought process, right?
Yep.
Jay Shrite is like he's an auramancer or like a righteous paladin. Like being around him buffs you, right?
Yep.
So I'm just like reading his tweets here. If I'm on his team, I'm probably gonna be doing stuff like just playing at a whole nother level. So I'm hoping that you know they're gonna tap into that potential and just shock the world, right?
Right.
Bring it out. And just do it. Space Station, I know you can if you're listening. Do it.
All right, so I'm gonna make one comment, and then I actually have to grab my phone real quick. But my only comment to that would be, I said this on the show last week. Sometimes you have to pick the winner against the grain so that you can try to win the points. And that could be where you're at here, right? In its own little way. Being contrarian and saying, I'm going to take SSG, even though I don't think they can win. Maybe he can carry that hard and turn it into a win. But that finishes off Friday, and I think Bahgz is back now. He's going to do Saturday, right?
I am back, and
awesome.
I will cover Saturday for us. Ready, and I hope you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready, dude.
All right, so Ballistics versus Miracle will start us off in Korea at 4 a.m. I'm picking Ballistics 3-1. LiQuid has the same pick here, 3-1 in favor of Ballistics. You went with Ballistics 3-0. I think we can all agree that Miracle does not look as good as they have in the past, and Ballistics is simply the better team. Fair to say?
Yeah. And
at 6 a.m. we've got Gluck versus Blossom. This should be good. I'm opposite you guys. I'm actually picking Gluck to win 3-2. LiQuid's got Blossom winning 3-1. And you've got Blossom winning 3-2. So we both think it's going to be competitive, but I am on the side of JC Gillyweed Gluck, and you are on the side of Flowers.
Yeah.
So
based on what I've seen, Gluck they've impressed me. They like, to say the least, they've impressed me with the caliber of teams that they've had to come up against. They did some really smart stuff and made some adjustments even during a set that allowed them to play a lot better. But I still think they're too green. They're too green right now to secure a win. But I think, like, based on what I've seen in their past sets, they get better with every game. So I can only imagine that, like, I don't think they're going to be quite at the level where they can take out Blossom, but they're going to make them work for it for sure.
I am often the one that says Blossom is the new Mighty. They picked up some of the Mighty players after they fell out of HGC, after the team disbanded. The team made great strides in Phase 2 after being a Crucible team in the first half of 2017. They have Wiz the Kid, and they are essentially probably the new Forever Fourth team in Korea. But something in my gut tells me to go with Gluck.
Yeah.
They are playing really well. They just beat Miracle 3-2.
Yeah.
which means that they're probably not good enough to beat Blossom. But I don't know. I've got a gut feeling, and I'm sticking with it. And I know it's not backed up in any hard evidence, but I'm sticking with it.
If it happens, let me put it this way: if it happens, I won't be shocked, because I think both of us definitely have seen them play, and we acknowledge the potential. Because the stuff they did in their last set was great. It was great.
Now, I will say that I am not as confident in Gluck as I was in Ballistics, so I'm not quite willing to lay down any wagers on that particular matchup. But it will be exciting. It's the battle for 4th place in Korea. I believe they have the same record, so it's whoever wins this one will actually probably be in the driver's seat to go to the Eastern Clash. So it'll be a good one to watch. And if you don't get up early enough, you can always catch it on the VODs. All right, Europe. At noon, we have the highlight matchup for Europe for the weekend, and that's Fnatic versus Dignitas. The old rivalry, the Yankees versus the Red Sox. I've got nothing else. It's the European heroes match to watch. I'm picking Dig to win 3-1. LiQuiuD believes it's going to go the full 5, but it's also leaning in favor of Dignitas. Ever the contrarian, though, Redian, you are leaning towards Fnatic.
I'm leaning towards Fnatic on this.
And their big balls cold calls to pull it out.
Yes,
3-2.
I think they are a little too spicy for Dignitas right now. Dignitas is a very standard palette, but Fnatic is going to bring the spice.
There's no way, dude.
It's happening, LiQuiuD.
All right.
It's happening.
You know what? Here's the thing.
Do it.
I will wear Dignitas, or I will wear Fnatic on my head if they beat Dignitas next week. Much like Bahgz is doing now.
Well, that means we'll have to have Redian back next week to back that up.
He's got to get a camera first.
Because there has to be another half. There has to be the other side of the wager.
Right. Yeah, that's true. We'll come up with something. Don't worry.
All right.
I'll come up with something with them, but there's no way. Yeah, I would be very surprised. I think it's one of the games of the weekend. I have it highlighted as one of my games of the weekend that you have to watch. Like, you cannot miss this game.
Yes, absolutely.
But no, man. No, it's going to be close. You know what? I shouldn't say no so emphatically. It's definitely going to be close. It's going 5 games. I would be surprised if it was a 3-0 or a 3-1.
It's going to be a 3-1. I can feel it, man. Dig is playing really well. They are amped up for this matchup. They are motivated. Right. And Fnatic, that is a team that has really smart decision-making. They have very talented players, but similarly to Space Station, I don't think they've figured out what's going to make that team click and perform at an absolute world-class level yet. And because of that, I don't see them winning more than one match against Dig, personally.
Okay. All right. I like Hyper Object has a good point. The reason Fnatic makes so many core calls is it's telling of how they can't control the game and they have to just rush to try and get that win. So other people agree,
Yeah, Skitzer feels the same way. A lot of people feel like that's a weakness, and I would argue that it's a strength. But Redian, I feel like you were about to chime in.
You definitely had a thought.
Yeah. So I can't remember who their opponents were, but they thought the same exact thing. So what they did to Fnatic, they took them to Towers of Doom. No core calls on Towers of Doom, and Fnatic smoked them.
You're right.
So underestimate Fnatic at your own peril.
That's true. That's
what I feel right now.
All right.
I think Dignitas knows that too. Like they're not going to pull any punches. But...
Yeah. No. Dig is gonna. This is like I said. They're gonna show up to play. Dig is ready. They might get a little lax against, like, say, the Leftovers, when that was kind of like when they were in that third game after an up 2-0. It kind of got a little weird.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it was the no support comp that they stomped them with. But that's not going to happen for Fnatic. Dig's ready to. This has been marked in their calendars. They've been counting down to this one. They are excited to emphatically stamp their status as the best team in Europe. I kid you not. They are amped up for this. So, all right, at 2 p.m. on the same day, Saturday, that is, this is all times Eastern, Leftovers versus Method. A little less exciting. I really would like Leftovers to pick up their first map win, but I don't expect that to happen here. I'm going method 3-0. LiQuiud?
3-1. 3-1. I think Leftovers could get a game there.
Okay.
That's a realm of possibilities, to borrow what Radian's been selling all night, man.
Yeah. I copped out. I copped out on this one. I don't see it happening.
All right. I think that's fair. It's tough. EU is tough, and they are struggling right now to adapt. All right, North America later that night at 5 p.m. We've got the matchup of the week in NA. It's Team 12 versus Freedom. And I'm picking Freedom to win 3-2.
I mean, I agree.
And this would have been a spicier pick had Team 12 not lost to Heroes Hearth just this past weekend. But because they have, I think it's a safe bet. You're on the same page as me.
Only because of that reason. If Heroes Hearth didn't win last week, this was Team 12 beating Freedom. It pains me to say this. Team 12 is my NA team, man. That's my NA team, and I have to not pick them, and it hurts. But I need the points. So this is not about what I want to happen. This is about logically what I think will happen. I think Freedom beats Team 12 3-2, but I want Team 12 to win this game.
Well, I want Team Freedom to win. So, and I think they're going to win. Redian, again, against the grain.
Against the grain.
Defend yourself.
Well, Team 12, they're really good, man. They're really good. They faltered against Heroes Hearth, but dude, I mean,
they are really good.
Look at that replay. Heroes Hearth pulled some magic. All right, those were some. It was beautiful.
I'll tell you what. I've got a replay of Goku getting deleted. That's what I got. I can pull that up.
And I mean, I think if anything, that loss. I know you guys are saying that loss makes it more likely that they're gonna give up the series, but I think that loss is gonna spur Team 12 even further into realizing that or exercising more of their potential, because we've seen it before. They've done well before.
But they're 3-2 right now. It's not like Heroes Hearth was the only team to beat them, right?
Listen, they lost to Tempo Storm. You're not wrong. Maybe we shouldn't be like pulling the air horn and the ship is sinking and all those bad metaphors. Like maybe we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions. Maybe Leftovers just has hit a couple Team 12 has hit a couple speed bumps. But I think it's fair. I think
here's my thought process on this. Okay, Freedom's sitting at 4-0 right now. This is just math. Freedom's sitting at 4-0. Team 12 is at 3-2, and they lost to Heroes Hearth and Tempo. We know Tempo's a good team right now. I know Heroes Hearth is underrated.
Yep.
I love Team 12, but Freedom's sitting at 4-0 right now, and it's not like Freedom has only played, crap teams.
Yeah, like I can pull that up right now. Like, I mean, we can talk about the teams they've beaten. Like, Freedom has played Tempo Storm, they won 3-2. They played GFE, they won 3-2. Right. They've defeated Heroes Hearth 3-1. So the two teams that beat Team 12 have already lost to Freedom. Right. So this is actually the only tough matchup, and no offense to the other teams that they have to play, but this is the only tough matchup that Freedom has left on the docket in the round robin. It's Team 12, and then the only teams left are Space Station and Simplicity. Easy wins for them. So if they beat Team 12, it's pretty much safe to say that they're going to go into the Clash undefeated.
Agreed.
Undefeated. Oh,
Agreed.
Man.
Agreed. Completely.
You guys make a compelling argument.
But, I mean, here's the thing, though. This is the game. This game could, in theory, go either way. 100%, if there was a game this weekend that could go either way, this is one of them. There's actually 3 games this weekend that could go either way. And they also happen to be the 3 games I picked as the game of the week.
Yeah, well, and they all have a lot of weight behind them, too. They're important matchups.
But they're all games I expect to go 5. Also, all of these, the 3 games we picked, and this game and Fnatic Dig, and then the one we'll get to tomorrow for Sunday, all will go 5 games. When you go 5 games, it can go either way, right? It can go 3-2 Team 12 wins. It can go 3-2 Team Freedom wins. Like, it can go either way. I think at this point, given everybody's record, Freedom wins. But it's like a coin toss at game 5, right? Like, if you've gone 5 games, it's literally a coin toss.
Well, there's a man in chat right now, Hero Physio, coach of LFM, who recently had to face Team Freedom. I'm sure he could elaborate more if he wanted to. He won't. So
no.
Let's move on. All right. At 7 p.m. on the same night, we've got LFM. Speaking of LFM, playing Tempo Storm. I expect Tempo Storm to win this matchup 3-1. LFM has looked very solid, even when they are about to get 3-0'd by the best team in the region. They do not tilt and start playing some weird comps. They are very competitive, right down to the wire. So shout out to them and their coach for accomplishing that. I expect them to pick up a game off Tempo. I think that's fair. What do you, LiQuid? It looks like you agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the possibility's there. I think
Redian, you expect them to push them, huh?
Yeah, I expect it to go to game 5. I think LFM has shown promise and maybe not super consistent improvement, but they have been. All right. They're not pushovers, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, for sure they're not pushovers. I could, if this was any team but Tempo or Freedom, I could see this happening. Any team but Tempo or Freedom.
And Tempo right now has been looking like they've been struggling a bit more, I'd say.
Yeah, no, Tempo, if you look at the top 3, well, no, the problem is Team 12, right? If you look at the top in NA, I think Freedom's the only one that looks like they have a solid identity and they know what they're doing. I think Heroes Hearth and LFM both look good in their own ways. But Freedom looks like the cream of the crop. Nobody is playing the way they're playing right now in NA. You get moments of greatness out of Heroes Hearth like this last weekend, out of LFM when they picked up their win, out of Tempo Storm when they're playing teams that are weaker than them, right? You see good moments. But I just don't know if LFM's be strong enough to take 2 games or even win that series. I think they definitely win a map. The question is, do they win more than one map and push it to a game 5? The challenge for any Heroes HGC game, period, any best of 5 period, if you push it to a game 5 or even best of 7, whatever it is, if you push it to that last game, it's a coin toss. Anything can happen that last game. You don't know what's going to happen because it's gone to that last possible game for that outcome, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always, to me, it's always interesting. If as a weaker team, you can get your opponent to a game 5 or a game 3 or a game 7, whatever the case, whatever the best of is, if you can get them to that moment, your chance of winning has tripled, right? Because you can go in as a total underdog, and LFM versus Tempo Storm is a great example of this. LFM's coming into that game as the underdog. If LFM can push them to a game 5, suddenly it's like a 50-50 chance for them to win. So you go from let's call it 10%. I'm not a sports bookie. I don't know the right numbers, but let's call it 10%. If you push them to game 5, you suddenly jump to a 50% chance. So the reality is, can you get 2 strong enough games to push it to that game 5? I don't know that LFM can yet. I don't think they're Crucible material. I think they will get out of that spot, but I don't think they're strong enough to beat Tempo yet or to push that to a game 5.
Well, we shall see then on Saturday. All right. Sunday, the last day. Korea at 4 a.m. We've got Miracle versus Felice. I'm picking Miracle to win 3-1. LiQuid?
I'm also picking Miracle to win at 3-1.
And Redian, you believe Miracle is going to win as well, it looks like.
Yep. Just
3.
In a faster fashion.
In a faster manner. 3-0. I think it's fair.
If you guys haven't, could tell, it's I don't think very highly of Felice.
You know what?
Given my predictions.
I agree with that personally. Here's my one thing I guess I would throw out there. I want this game to go 5.
Really? Why?
Because that means I don't have to get up as early for Ballistics versus KSV.
Well, that's
legit. That's fair.
Man, Korean games kill me, and the 6 a.m. ones aren't as bad as the 4 a.m. ones. But if the 4 a.m. one, if I want to see the 6 and the 4 could go a little long, my sleep would greatly appreciate that.
That's fair. All right, so at 6 a.m. we've got Ballistics versus KSV. That is the title card match in Korea this weekend. I'm picking KSV to beat Ballistics 3-2 because I still believe KSV is the best team in that region. LiQuiud.
I am also picking it the same way, for the same reason.
You admit
nope.
it. KSV is the best team in Korea.
Nope. Wait. I believe KSV is better than Ballistics. I think Ballistics is number 3 in Korea. I apologize.
No.
That is what I meant to say. I was distracted by chat.
Redian.
I think that Ballistics is going to they're not going to let it happen. They're going to gatekeep them.
I would love to see that. 100%. I would love to see Ballistics beat KSV. That would make my day because then I could dance in front of Bahgz even more and be like, KSV, what? No, son, it's Tempest all the way. Like I would love that. I would legitimately love that. But I need the points because I'm trailing, so I gotta go with what I think will happen, and it's KSV beating Ballistic. But I would love to see Ballistics beat KSV. Oh my god, that would make my day. Even losing the points, that would make my day.
KSV lost to Ballistics and we're truly the 3rd best team in Korea. I'm not sure like what I would even think. Like I'm not sure I'm ready to live in that HGC world. Like what? All right, moving on to Europe.
Well, wait, and you gotta wonder like what's going on? What's in Noble S's mind right now?
Like maybe I'm coaching the wrong team.
Right? Like, dude, what do you like? Oh my god, really? All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let's go to Europe.
Let's go on to Europe. Zealots at noon are playing the Leftovers. I'm picking the Zealots to win 3-0. LiQuiud and Redian both believe this is going to be a close match. So this is where Leftovers start picking up some map wins for you guys.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on your picks there?
All right. So first of all, just so we're all clear, even since last season, I've loved Zealots. I still love Zealots. I think Zealots is a strong team. Okay. I got to get that out there now. But I think Leftovers is struggling the way EID struggled when they first came into HGC. They're trying to find their footing. The pace of the game is different. You know, no matter how many weeks of scrims you had, you're still just not ready to play against the top teams in HGC. You're just not, right? So I feel like that's where they're struggling. I think just like we saw with Zealots in part 2, they'll kick it into gear and they'll find their footing. And I think this is the beginning of that. I think Zealots will win, but I think Leftovers is going to start picking up maps starting this weekend in that game.
All right. Well, I hope that's the case. Redian, what do you think?
I think I'm pretty much in the same boat. I think Leftovers, they're not, I don't think they're the better team. I mean, I guess that's kind of clear, but I think they have the potential to push back against Zealots a bit more than I think would be readily apparent. And
all right.
I always, you know, I always kind of like favor the underdogs a bit more. Because I think, you know, I'm going into I'm thinking of the matchups as going like, all right, you know, these guys, they're hungrier, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
They're hungrier and they probably have been studying Zealots more than Zealots has been studying Leftovers.
Yeah.
So I think that little bit of an advantage is what's going to make it a closer series, because Zealots is looking at, you know, they're looking at Fnatic and Method and Dignitas. They're not really paying attention to the other guys.
All right. I think that's fair. We all agree Zealots are probably going to come out the winners. It's just a matter of the degree of difficulty as to how they achieve that. At 2 p.m., Tricked versus Diamond Skin. I picked Tricked to win 3-2. I think it's going to be competitive. I think that Diamond Skin is probably the 7th best team in Europe, but I think that they are closer to they're not as bad as people think they are, even though they're a 7th place team. Let's just put it that way. LiQuiud.
Oh, okay.
I think Tricked beats Diamond 3-1.
Okay.
I go back and forth. That could go game 5. It might not. That one's like really kind of up in the air. But we'll see. We'll have to see how it goes.
Redian, you've got Tricked winning 3-0. This is going to be the opposite of get tricked, huh? Diamondskin's going to get #get tricked.
Well, I think that Tricked has more shenanigans up their sleeve, and it's going to allow them to just I really think that Tricked is going to run really just confuse Diamond with their drafting and their playstyle. They're going to take them to actually, it's not even that they're going to pick unpopular battlegrounds. They're just going to do weird stuff on those battlegrounds against Diamond, and I don't think Diamond is going to have a good response.
Right.
All right.
I'm not saying there's going to be a murky, but
no, but
there's going to be some weird stuff.
We might see his little pick or something crazy. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
All right. And then to cap it off for this week, we've got Simplicity versus LFM in North America at 5 p.m. I'm picking LFM to win 3-1.
Same. I think LFM's gonna have to push it to game 5 to win, where you get into that coin toss scenario. But LFM wins. LFM beats Simplicity.
Yep, I'm in that boat. I think Simplicity will make it tough, but they're not gonna come out with the W over LFM.
So we all believe we're all big fans of Hero Physio here, apparently.
Well, with that said, right, LFM also has the advantage. They're only playing Simplicity this week. Simplicity's playing Heroes Hearth and LFM. I also 100% believe that the old squad looks down on their nose at LFM. 100% believe that. I don't think they do Heroes Hearth that way because of the number of ex-pros that are on Heroes Hearth. I mean, for God's sakes, McIntyre played with K1 and King Caffeine on the same team, right? So they can't look down their nose at Heroes Hearth. I absolutely believe they look down their nose at LFM, and I think they're going to pay for that. And it will make me laugh and be so happy because it'll be like 2 big middle fingers to the old squad not listening to the new guys. So
look, when you really don't like,
I don't like the idea behind we're not going to allow new blood into the team. I just don't like. It's like I appreciate everything that these guys brought to Heroes, right? They've been around forever. They built the scene when there was no scene. I absolutely appreciate that. But I have a hard time with people that are like that say, well, you guys aren't as good as us because we've been around forever, or we've been around long enough that we're only going to look at like established players, right? Like I have a hard time with that. I have the same hard time with people saying I'm not going to hire somebody because they're young. Like that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So like it's a personal thing for me, and that's why I struggle so hard with Simplicity. It's completely different from Naventic. Naventic I just disliked. Like post-fan Naventic I couldn't stand.
I don't think Naventic could stand itself.
Right.
Like I don't think anybody liked that team.
Right. Right. Exactly. But with Simplicity, it's like, dude, you guys, you need to open yourself up and understand that there are solid amateur players that can try out for your team and maybe better for your team. And by saying, no, we're not going to do that, like I have a problem with that. I have the same problem with people that are amateurs right now that are like, oh, I'm too good to join your amateur team. Like, do you have a team right now? No, then you're not too good to join my team because you don't have a team right now. Like, you need to understand that the world has moved on from where you were like 2 years ago, right? Like, it's one place 2 years ago, but the world has moved on. Now Dax in chat is making my point for me. Poik is a great example of that. Poik is like amazing, and playing with Dig with Poik, like it's crazy how good they are, right? Dig took that chance and said, we're going to take Poik. Not that Poik was like...
I mean, he played with Zealots.
Yeah, and he played really well with Zealots too. I know, and I'm not saying that, but like Simplicity would never make that chance. Would never take that chance, right? Like that's my point. They would be like, no. We want the dude that's been through, 5 years of Heroes competitive, not the dude that's been here for 18 months, right? And like that's my problem. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, no. So like I have a personal issue with that. I think Simplicity has a lot of talent on their team. I think LFM has a lot of talent too, and I think LFM can push this to Game 5. If LFM accomplishes making this to Game 5, they win the series. If LFM can't make it to Game 5, they don't win. Like, there's no world where LFM wins 3-1 or 3-0. I'm sorry, Bahgz. I disagree with your pick. Like, that's
I actually wanted to mention that, and I linked it in Skype chat. I was trying to keep it behind the curtain. You put Fringe's picks in for mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I actually so if you pull it up real quick here and you go right underneath the one you highlighted, that's
yours. I'm sorry, man.
I actually picked LFM to win still, but in a 3-2 as well.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so I agree. If they can get it to Game 5, they totally win that series. 100% they win that series. Sorry about that, dude.
It's all good. Most of the picks kind of match up. Fringe and I have similar taste in teams. They're not identical, but they're close. They're close. I'll make the edits in post.
All right.
So that the scores come out accurate next week.
Sorry, man. But yeah, I think LFM can do it. So, all right, on to the last game. The last game of the week in NA, 7 p.m. Eastern, GFE versus Heroes Hearth.
Heroes Hearth, let's go!
Absolutely. All three. Well, I don't know. Is this a correct pick here based on my typos? Is this what you picked?
Yes.
Okay.
Fringe and I were actually, we have the same
in agreement there.
Score.
All right. So Heroes Hearth. All three of us think Heroes Hearth wins. Bahgz has 3-1. I have 3-2. I think Heroes Hearth pushes it to Game 5 to win, and Radian's got a 3-0 pick. I don't think anybody questions Heroes Hearth wins this game.
It's mainly because I'm on the Heroes Hearth train right now.
I mean, that's fair.
That's really all it is.
That's
I'm
fair.
Not gonna lie.
It's okay to be on that train. It's a good train to be on, man. It's a good train to be on. I am just going to point out again that I've been saying that Heroes Hearth will be undervalued since they won their spot. And I was so ecstatic that they were able to not knock out EID, but get into HGC through Open Division. That made me happy. So that was a good day for me. All right, you want to add anything to that, or are we?
We're good. I just want to touch on last week's score. Yep. So last week, based on last week's picks, I finished with 16 points. LiQuid, you actually beat me with 20 points, but you still trail behind because you missed a week.
Tempest, baby.
Sitting at 76 points to 32 points on the season total. So maybe I'm wearing a sign on my head today, which is pun intended.
That was good.
That was good.
That was good, man.
But I'm still winning on the season, buddy. And then looking ahead, again, we've already highlighted them, but the matchups you don't want to miss this weekend. 2 of them are on Saturday. The one in EU is at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's Fnatic versus Dignitas. Saturday at 5 p.m. in North America, we've got Team 12 versus Freedom. And Sunday at 6 a.m. in Korea, we've got Ballistics versus KSV.
Absolutely. I'm pumped.
Oh, those are the games to watch, man. Those are the games to watch. All right. We have some amateur stuff to go over, and you know what we have for that?
And the Mastermind Storm is awaiting them. Welcome to the paint train.
Kill the boss! Kill the boss! Can they do it? It's too much damage for me! And that's GG!
All right, so amateur. We're going to go over EU first, even though it's backwards in the show notes. EU Open Division Cup number 2 did finish today. Grubby's stream issues aside, we did have Team Singularity beat Granite Gaming 2-1 in the semifinal match number 1, and Manticore 2-0 Clausen's Army in semifinal match number 2, setting up a third place match of Granite Gaming versus Clausen's Army, which Granite Gaming did end up winning 2-0. And then in the finals, again, for the second week in a row, we had Team Singularity versus Manticore. Team Singularity, again, 2-0ing Manticore in that final. They were actually really solid games. Singularity is really setting itself up to be the team to beat and the team to go into the Crucible and possibly knock out whoever that bottom team is. And poor Schizo just tried to send me a Twitter URL and it bombed. I got you, buddy. Nightbot is not friendly. I should really add Twitter into that. All right. All right. Any thoughts on EU? Anybody?
No.
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's all right, man. It's all right. I know you're
fixing
fixing your picks, and Radian's focused on NA, so I totally get it. I just want to make sure before I jumped into NA. All right, so NA.
Good to go.
We got Open Division Cup number 2. Actually, the semifinals are running right now. They just started about 20 minutes ago. XD versus NA LOL is semifinal 1. Semifinal 2 is SMV versus Serial Killers. I personally think it's going to be XD versus SMV in the finals. Thoughts? Radian? What do you think? Are we going to see the same final again this week?
I think it's essentially going to be the same without much variation there. Unless there's something I don't know about the teams that's going up. I mean, it is kind of early, but I don't think there's any reason for me to think that XD isn't going to go up against
SMV.
SMV.
I think it's the same too. I think NA LOL versus Serial Killers will be a decent third place match, and that'll actually won't be streamed live, but will be played on Heroes Hype after the finals are finished. So people will be able to actually watch that third place match. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they tweeted it a little while ago. Yeah, okay, here it is. The third place match will be shown only on Heroes Hype channel after both semifinals are concluded. Oh, so they're going to stream at the same time. Okay, so third place match will still be a match that we see on the Heroes Hype channel. So we'll be able to watch both. SMV versus XD, I think, will really be the NA team. Both of them filled with a number of ex-pros. And I think Serial Killers might take NA LOL in that third place match. And before I ask you for your thoughts on it, Broadcast Crusade, yes, EID is still a team, but it does not have the entire roster anymore. I think it's only one of them. Right? I think only Battery is on the team from the old EID roster. And the rest of EID went to SMV and XD, if I remember correctly. You remember off the top of your head while I look that up real quick? Radian?
I don't trust myself.
Okay. No, that's all right.
That's just the off the top of my head answer.
Dark Chimera wasn't on EID when they were in HGC, or was he? That's the only one I'm not sure about. So there may be 2 members of EID on that team, or it may be just the 1 member, but it's not the EID that was in HGC. The team split up. Some of them went to at least one of them went to SMV. One of them went to XD. Battery's still on EID, and I don't remember where the other 2 players were. So yeah. What are your thoughts on the NA Open Division as it is right now, buddy?
As it is right now, I think we have yet to see like all top 8 slots, I think, be filled up. Mainly because there were like after the first cup, we saw that there were a bunch of teams that broke up and then reformed and whatnot. So like it's weird. I guess we could look at the standings and be like, okay, objectively these are the points, but whether or not that's
right
going to remain the same, like I don't know, dude. Like, because even after the first cup, I wasn't expecting teams to just disappear after one cup.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
One cup.
It was crazy. It was definitely a little weird. We had a number of teams like bounce pretty quickly. All of a sudden, right? And it was like, what? Like, what just happened? Like teams that lost a single cup or didn't finish as high as they wanted to, and it was like all of a sudden they all just bailed. I think XD and SMV stay. I think NA LOL, depending on how they do, they'll move up into they're definitely NA LOL will move up into third place no matter what they do this week.
Yeah.
They'll move up into third place. I think what's interesting is what's the other team? The other team is Serial Killer. They didn't play last week, so they'll probably sit in fourth place, depending on how they do. So it's crazy. The state of Open Division in both Europe and NA is highly in flux. And that's really why our coverage. So if anybody that watched this last season knows that our coverage is usually more in depth of the Open Division. But right now there's too much influx. Like teams are like falling apart like quickly. So it's usually around like Cup 4 where we start really diving in, because at that point, you know, the top 4 are definitely the top 4. They're probably not changing at that point. And that's when we really start diving into it. So.
Yeah, and what's the other thing that's different too is that there's less time in between the cups this time around, so there's no longer that week in between. So any changes that are going to happen with rosters are going to happen, I guess, faster.
Wednesday, man. Wednesday's roster apocalypse for Open Division teams. Well, and it's crazy, right? For us, like that makes our coverage harder, because it used to be we had Europe one week and NA next week, the following week, and it gave us time to like digest it. Now Monday, I'm finding Monday and Tuesday I got to watch like 12 hours of Heroes both days, and then try to get ready for a show. I don't even get to watch Tuesday's NA finals because we're usually doing the show. It's like, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
It's a lot to tackle, but as a side note, I think despite the apparent negativity of, you know, teams not sticking together, I am very much enjoying this competitive season right now. It has been an absolute blast to play so far. Part of that I think has to do with the balance patches. Like, you know, Blizzard's actually been doing some pretty good stuff. So good job, Blizzard. Although, you know, don't wait 3 months to nerf Genji, please, or a character like Genji that you put out. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, it'll also be interesting. Like with the patch dropping today, I suspect next week we'll be on Tournament Realm again, and then you get into our teams. All right, I'm going to talk to you about something now that I'm meant to talk to you about earlier tonight, but didn't get a chance to. Like, really, teams should be scrimming on Tournament Realm because you know you're going to play on Tournament Realm, not with the changes that are here now. And like some teams will do that, some teams won't, which is weird. I also know a number of teams weren't ready with the Tournament Realm in EU, so it's like, how could you not be? Like Heroes hype, like crazy.
There was so
that.
much. Yeah, there was like borderline spam messages about, you know, get ready, have the Tournament Realm ready, you know. But I don't know, man.
Right?
Maybe it's the amateur struggle, man. Sometimes we just don't read, LiQuiud. All right, sometimes we just don't.
I was so confused by that. I'm like, I remember how little the communication was last season when Gosu was running it, and at the time I was managing TNG, and I like as soon as I started managing them, I said, look, I don't give a shit if you guys have space on your machines or not. The Tournament Realm should be installed on your computer. There's no excuse for it not to be. You want to compete at HGC through the Open Division, there's no reason you don't have the Tournament Realm installed. I wasn't even playing competitively. As soon as they announced it and it was available, I installed it on my computer. Because I was like, oh, yeah, dude, I'm totally going to have this. Like, why would I not? And then I'm hearing, like, amateur teams, like, complain to Gosu, we didn't have the Tournament Realm installed. I'm like, what the? You guys call yourself a team that wants to be pro and you don't have, like, how the hell is that possible? Like, what am I missing?
This may make you sad, but a lot worse things have happened.
Well, I know, man. I know. Believe me, I know. So, all right. That covers all of our review stuff. So we have a couple questions we're going to go over with Redian, but before we do that, I got another one of these things. All right, man. Can you tell us? All right, so you're captain of ODI.
Yes, sir.
And to be fair to everybody watching, I manage the team. Not that I do a whole lot. Just make sure you guys have scrims.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Plugs. But we have some questions here, and actually you helped us come up with a lot of these questions, and so I'm just gonna we're gonna wing it and go with, as a captain, what's the struggle that you have to deal with in amateur open division?
I think, man, there's a bunch, but one of the biggest ones that we kind of touched on is just roster stability, which is the question that I also asked Trent for his show and his podcast that he does. It's how the hell do you keep a team together? Like, it's that, I think that's the hardest part. Keeping a team together and then being consistent with that team is definitely been one of the struggles as an amateur captain, because you're training as hard as professionals, or you're trying to, but you don't have a professional salary. You don't have the professional backing or support. Yeah. Like, it's a labor of love and or passion, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Yeah. Many times it doesn't work out, actually.
Well, right. Think about open division. There's an average of 36 teams on it. There can only be 2 go into the Crucible, right?
Yep.
So I can see that.
There can only be 2, and then even when you go to the Crucible, then you have to deal with, like, you have to go up against a professional team,
right?
And that, given the quality of scrims, or the disparity between the quality of scrims that an amateur team would be getting versus a professional team,
right?
Really, no professional team should ever get relegated out. Like, if you do,
would think,
then
right?
Yeah, if you do, then you were really, really not good.
So, I do want to make a comment about that, because I do know, having talked to Rory about this with Heroes Hearth, and I know some of the secrets now, which I will be using to better position ODI at some point in the near future. They were scrimming HGC teams.
Oh,
before they went into the Crucible, yes, but I mean, they had a slight advantage, right? Like, Crowan, McIntyre, like, come on. It's an HGC team without being an HGC team, right? For all intents and purposes. It wasn't 100% an HGC team, but it was as close as you were going to get.
Right, yeah. X-Pros.
Right,
a lot
right. And, like, quality X-Pros, too. And not that there's anything wrong with the X-Pros running around in SMV or XT. I'm not trying to say that, but, like, those guys deserve to be on a team, and why they weren't on a team still boggles my mind. Like, Crowan getting pulled off GFE still to this day pisses me off.
That didn't make sense to me. No matter who I heard talk about it, never really clicked in my brain.
Right. So the reality is, some of those teams do have an advantage and a leg up. And Rory and I talked a while about how that occurs. But and one of the things that's important to me, and I know it's important to you, and it's important to the team, like, a lot of teams, we saw at least 4 teams break up and reform after Cup 1. If you increase it to just teams that made roster changes, I think that number actually gets up to 6, where teams kept enough people together where they would keep their points, but they changed the 2 people they were allowed to change without losing points. Right. Why do you think that was? Like, it was 1 cup. Like, 1 cup. You lost after 1 cup.
I think it has to do with the goal setting. Well, that's one possible thing, right? Who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
Right.
Like, I have no clue. A number of things could have happened, but I think a large part of it has to do with expectation. People were not expecting perhaps to do as poorly as they did, so when they hit that wall, they felt like their expectations were betrayed. Maybe they were ashamed of themselves as individuals, or they were looking to assign some sort of a reason for it, and then that can lead to blaming and lead to a bad team environment. So then the team just dissolves. Right. Like, you know, the vision that you had and where you thought you were wasn't realized or turned out to be false. So then, like, you know, team just falls apart from there because the vision that was keeping the team together no longer exists.
Okay. All right. Yep. I can see that. Okay.
I don't think, like, the thing with that too is like, well, have a realistic expectation,
right?
You know, so if you really think that you're gonna go in and win every single cup, like, all right. And if you don't, like, does that matter? Because the playoffs are what matter. Winning the playoffs is really what matters, and then beyond that, winning the Crucible is what really matters.
Right.
So even if you stumble in the first like 3 cups, I don't think that should deter you from continuing with the crew you have, unless there's some severe internal issue, and you know that could be another thing.
Okay.
I think that's a really important way to look at it, and I'm very curious as to why there was so much upheaval in the amateur scene after one cup, and why it's yes, it's you can expect a couple of teams to make some moves because they might not see it that way,
right?
But to have so many teams think that they are wasting their time and it's not worth staying together for 3 cups, that in the end, like you just said, doesn't really matter. What matters is the playoffs. So it's like, I just don't understand why you wouldn't at least give it another go or two before you're like, okay, this isn't going to click. Let's try something else.
Right. Well, and like what's interesting to me here, NA LOL wasn't sure what they were going to do after cup number 1. They came back after cup number 1 so that they could beat in cup number 2. The team has stayed the same, but they definitely were not sure whether that was going to be the case. So it's weird to me. They made I think they made like 1 or 2 changes, but not enough to like really throw it off. I don't know. I don't get it.
The point being is they came back and now they're a semifinalist team, right?
Well, but the thing, like, look at them last week. If I remember correctly, we knocked them out last week, didn't we?
It was third place. It was the 3rd place match.
Oh, you're right. That was the 3rd place match. Yeah. So nothing has changed, but I don't know. It's very weird. Like, the state of amateur in NA and EU is just strange. Like, people stick around, but then they don't stick around because they think they should have done better, but they didn't do better. And it's like, dude, it was 1 cup. Like, you need to go at least 4 cups before you can be like, yeah, this isn't working. Unless you guys just hated each other, in which case you probably should have found that out earlier.
Yeah, because months and months and months leading up to the there's so much buildup and scrim time. So the other thing with that is that you could have teams that just aren't getting challenged at all. So they're going through and just stomping their way through scrims and the Heroes Hype amateur tournaments, and they're just winning nonstop. And then they get to the Open Division Cup expecting to win, and they don't. And then that some teams don't recover from that shock, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I was the best in scrims, man. Why am I not, why am I not anymore? So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
go ahead.
So moving on from that, as a captain, can you kind of explain to us what you do? How do you structure the team?
In terms of like roles or like
just
the day-to-day?
Like you've got some bullet points here, and I think we could tackle them, and I think that would be a good way.
Oh, okay, yeah. So organizing a team, I think, well, this harkens back to what we just finished discussing, or part of it, which is, you got to have a mission, right? You have to have a goal. So your team needs to be organized around that initial thought process that we exist to do this thing. And as soon as you figure out what that thing is, it becomes a lot easier to recruit the players that you want because you know what you're looking for. And it becomes easier to progress. And it becomes easier to set goals because you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So That's the first thing, and then figuring out too where you lie in terms of, well, no, that would actually be later on, but figuring out what the temperament, what kind of teammates that you want to have around you. So if you're a captain, like what's the personality of your team? If somebody had to sum up your team in a word, personality wise, like what would they say about it?
Right.
Would they say you're super salty? Would they say that you're easygoing? Would they say you're laid back? Would they say you're really competitive? You know, how would people describe your team, and how do you want your team to be described? Yeah. Once you figure that out, then it becomes easier to recruit based on that sort of criteria. Because I mean, I think you guys have had a conversation with Ramadi about this, maybe not on the show, but just off to the side. But when you get along with your teammates, it actually does make a difference.
Does it?
Know?
Yeah, no, it totally does,
enough,
right? Right, yeah.
Oddly enough, you know, when you enjoy the people you play the game with, it becomes a lot easier to play the game with them, and it increases the longevity of your roster.
Right.
So before ODI, when I had TQ, we all enjoyed playing with each other. The team broke up ultimately mainly because of outside circumstances. One of our guys had to focus on school. No, two of our guys had to focus on school, and another one had life complications come up. So, you know, there are going to be times where, you know, it sucks. You just can't do anything about it.
Right.
But as far as you can control it. You know, make sure that you have the team environment that you want. Make sure that you're recruiting the players that you want. And with that, kind of what you were saying, LiQuiud, about letting new blood and new talent into the scene. Right. Make sure that you actually have a legitimate recruitment process. Don't just look at your friends list and be like, all right, I like this guy, so he's on the team, or I'm going to ask him, and you know, never seek beyond what you already know, because the world's a big place and there's a lot of talent, man, regardless of what competitive pursuit that you're looking at. So
I want to stop you there right for a minute and just go over, like, recruiting is a bitch in amateur.
Woo! Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We struggled for a long time to fill a last position. And what was interesting to me, and I think this is still the case, like even in scheduling scrims for you guys, for me, like pre-January, it was impossible to get people lined up. It was impossible to get scrims. Like, everybody was like, nah, man, Open Division's months away. Like, we're not doing a lot. And so there was, like, we scrimmed like the same 4 teams pretty much all the time.
Over.
Right. Yeah. But the same was true for tryouts. People were like there were a couple of people tweeting about how they wanted to be serious and wanted to find teams. But for the most part, like, the player pool in those couple of months was, like, empty. And now everybody's like, oh, I want to play Open Division. Like, sign me up. And it's like, dude, you guys, like, you wanted to start scrimming and practicing months ago. Like, just because BlizzCon ended didn't mean prep ended. Like, you needed to do these things. So it's interesting to me to see what's happened and like who has done that and who hasn't done that, and where they end up positionally. So yeah, sorry. Anyway,
no, I mean that's a good point, because it's not even that the player pool was slim. There was enough players to make a couple teams. It's just that people were stuck within their own bubbles, if that makes sense, stuck within their own existing networks. So they don't actually have legit open tryouts. They just, like, DM people on their friends list.
Right. Hey, do you want to join a team? Yeah, I do. Let's do it. Right. And it's very similar to Simplicity, in my opinion. And the whole, no, we don't want to let, you know, other people in. We're just gonna wing it and see what happens. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, so, you know, for the people listening, like, obviously it's cool to play with your friends, right? Do that. But if you really want to, like, try to make that competitive leap, I think it's incumbent upon you to do that extra work, essentially, in having that tryout process. Don't take the easy way out and just be like, all right, you know, let me just go down the friends list. You know, think about it.
Right. No, I agree. All right. So one of the things you have on here is, and actually I'm curious about this, difference between joining a team as opposed to being like, is there a difference between joining a team or being a founding member?
Well, when you're joining the team, you don't need to worry about the recruitment process. And I know we kind of like brushed over that, but that really is one of the hardest things to do, is when you know what you're looking for, when you have that criteria, finding the players that you're looking for can take a while. And even when you do, people may leave. Like what happened with an early iteration of ODI, which I won't get into, but is ironic. It's humorous and also sad the way it ended. Yeah. For the individuals involved. But you know, joining a team I think is always going to be easier, but you can still do a similar amount of work in terms of, you know, having your own criteria for the teams that you want to join. You know, it goes both ways. When you're trying out for a team, it's not just them seeing if you're a fit, you're seeing if they're a fit for you. You know?
We used to so my wife and I used to raid competitively, and that was always an interesting thing that we got into with potential new guilds that you would look at. And wow, was they would be like, oh yeah, we want to try you out, and either her or I would say, and we want to try you out and decide if like we're a good fit. And there were guilds that were like, what? And like were like put off by that. And it's like, dude, we're talking about basically spending 6 hours a day, like 5 days a week with you. Like, yeah, we need to get along. And if we don't get along, then it's not a good fit. And the same is true here, right? I know the schedule you guys are going through, and like you spend a lot of time together. It's a good fit on both sides. And if you don't have both sides, it's just not there.
Yeah, you'll be miserable, basically. To use an example from another game, another competitive game, another MOBA, in fact, Dota. So, Evil Geniuses, now this is also a MOBA where America actually does well. Evil Geniuses won the International, and immediately after the International, I think in 2016, they removed one of their players. Like immediately tweeted it out. It was Owie 2000 who was removed from Evil Geniuses, and people were like, why? Because from the outside, you just freaking won the International. You guys, you're all millionaires now, right? Like, why would you remove this guy? And it turns out PPD the Captain did like a twit longer, I think, or a Reddit post that said playing with Owie was a nightmare as a captain, and it was very debilitating as a teammate, because he was constantly questioning strategies and calls. He was constantly being a force against the team as opposed to with the team. Yeah. So if you don't have that dynamic down packed, then it's not going to work out. You can say that even on like the extreme end of success, the amount of stress that you experience as a result of being with people that you don't get along with, that you're not going to stick around. Either you're going to seek to remove them, or you're just going to leave yourself. Right. So cool. It's important.
It is. No, it absolutely is. All right, last question, and then because we are going a little long, which seems to be the case we usually run into. How do you deal with so being an open division team? Obviously, you have both positive and negative results in the tournament, or even in practice. You know, depending on the goals you have set for that day, maybe you achieve them, maybe you don't. But how do you deal with those? Like, what's your approach for dealing with success and negativity?
So it depends on your definition of success, but for the most part, let's say that like blanket term success is winning, right? Okay. So within HOTS, let's simply just describe or define success as winning. So, and on the other end of the spectrum, let's define the negative aspect of that as being losing. Right. If you strictly remain within like that sort of dichotomy of thought, you're going to end up faltering, mainly because if you are constantly winning and you define that as success, you can basically trap yourself into thinking that what you're doing is always going to work. Right. Similarly, let's say, when you're scrimming, one of the things that we do, or like a philosophy that we have on our team, is that, we scrim to improve and to learn. That's the goal. not necessarily winning or losing. Like, we're not going to go into a game and try to lose. And if we win, that's great. That's a validation of sort of the tactics and the ideas that we have going into a competitive match.
Yep.
And if we lose, then that's an opportunity for growth. Now, the degree of growth can vary, but if you think about it in terms of that, it becomes a lot easier to deal with negative results. Like, for example, we placed third place in the first cup, and now we got knocked out round of 16 in the second cup. Now, if we're going to follow the trend of other teams and following, that sort of mindset of winning is everything and losing is the worst thing that could ever happen, ODI wouldn't exist. We would have had our Ross apocalypse early.
Yeah, we would have broke up yesterday, right?
Exactly, ahead of the Wednesday curve.
I would have woken up to we broke up.
Yeah, I would have said, well, LiQuid, team's gone. Back to the recruitment phase, and then but I probably wouldn't be able to do that again at that point. At such a short notice. God. Whew,
Could you imagine that? Let's not talk about that. That's just painful to even think about.
It is. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So onto the looking up the good side of this is that we went from getting 75 points to getting 10 points. The good side to that is that we learned a lot.
Right.
From the scrims, from the warm-ups that we had beforehand and the losses that we experienced during the cup. We looked at the replays. We analyzed not only our individual decision making, like our micro, but we looked at our macro and we looked at our draft and we identified a problem, particularly with our drafting, that going forward we have already fixed. Like our Discord, our team chat blew up with suggestions and thoughts and ideas. Like, a loss should not deter you from the pursuit of victory. It should reinvigorate that. Like, it should it should be like a flame that goes off, like an explosion. It's like, all right, we're down. Let's do this. Now we got to get back into it. So, that sort of thought process, I think, is what is going to contribute to the longevity of this roster. But I've been doing this for 2 years now. I have no illusions. Like, some shit could happen tomorrow and ODI is gone. Like, I am fully mentally prepared for that, possibility. But as it stands right now, I really do think just that simple mindset of having a clearer definition of what success is, or what a positive result is and what a negative result is, and how to deal with those. I think that will also lead to great results, if not longevity, with whatever roster that you're on.
Awesome. All right. That's a good place, I think, to stop. And so with that, I'm going to thank everybody for listening to Trollin HGC, a weekly podcast about Here's the Storm Esports, a member of the Trolls.gg Entertainment Network. We stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrollsGG, every week on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Radian, it's that time that all the HGC pros have fun with. You get to give shout-outs. What do you have for
all
us?
Right. So shout out to my team, ODI. Each member, Fancy Pants, Fleshy Bits, Woven, and Dagamir. Shout out to you, LiQuiud, for helping. Oh my God, I would not have survived the recruitment process without you. I'm just gonna say it plain.
Thank you.
Would have offed myself for sure. Shout out to Trolls and everything that you guys do and the podcast. Big shout out to Heroes Hearth, because that's a sweet place to put up guides. And shout out, I think, primarily to my family and friends who sometimes have to put up with me making outrageously loud shot calls at the dead of night. The walls are thin here. They are not soundproof, and
those late night games, man.
Late night games, they have to put up with me at 1 a.m. in the morning screaming about Diablo. I sound like, if you're just walking into the house, you'd think an exorcism was taking place.
Wow. Yeah, no, I can totally see that. Awesome.
So yeah. Oh, and shout out to the community. Shout out to the viewers and all the people who watch. You guys are a big part, whether you realize it or not, of why these things even exist. players aren't enough, man. You got to have a viewership. So shout out to all the fans of Heroes, man. Keep that up.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Bahgz, where can people find you?
Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Bahgz HGC. I post pictures of my dog, esports stuff when I'm going live with my stream, which can be found at twitch.tv/Bahgz. As well, if you enjoyed tonight's show and are interested in Blizzard's other esports offerings, consider subscribing to the Weekly Blizz, where my buddy Gwaz and I cover all of Blizzard's esports. It can be found on all podcast sources. LiQuiuD, where can people find you?
So the best place to follow me is on Twitter at LiQuiuDGG. I know I was going to try and stream more, but I have not had time to do that. I'm hoping after Creators of the Storm, I can start doing that again. Daz and I right now are just focused on that. That is February 24th. Definitely check that out. It's it'll be an all-day tournament starting at 1 p.m. Eastern on, again, February 24th, but it'll be streamed here on twitch.tv/TrollsGG. Definitely check that out. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, you can support us in a variety of ways. You can support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/TrollsGG. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, subscribe in YouTube, subscribe on Twitch, hit us up on iTunes, leave us some feedback, Google Play, Stitcher, all of the places where you can get your podcast. We love getting comments. We love getting feedback. We want to make the show better for you guys. We love doing the show, but if you tell us things we can do better, we'll definitely do what we can. Also, check out our website, www.trolls.gg. We have a number of authors now writing articles out there, including an interesting series. If you haven't checked this out yet, definitely check it out. Annalise is doing Buy or Sell with EU and NA teams, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading last week's. Definitely check that out, and this week should be done pretty soon. So, yeah, absolutely check those out. If you need to get in touch with us, Twitter DMs are open, and that's at Trollin HGC, or you can email us, trollin@trolls.gg. Thank you, everyone who stuck around for the show. Thank you, Redian, for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
And we'll see everyone else in the Nexus.
Bye!
All right.